Everyone, welcome back to another video. Microsoft earning calls for Q3 have come out, and they are actually surprisingly very good. In fact, better than most people expected. With, yes, the console sales have declined again, but they expected this, and they said this in Q2 that for Q3 they expect another decline, but at a much lower rate. But there is a lot of information to get through and a lot to digest. Of course, the PlayStation fanboys, in particular Nibs, is trying to damage control and show how this is actually very bad for Xbox, when in fact, he himself has Game Pass, and he himself played Obscure 33, Expedition 33, on Game Pass. And when questioned, why don't you actually buy the game and support the devs, because you guys are all about supporting the devs, right? Well, he turned around and said, well, it's on Game Pass, why should I buy it? Wait a minute. Ain't you guys the ones that turn around and say that if you play the games on Game Pass, you're not supporting the devs, and now you're talking about a Game of the Year contender, and you don't want to support the devs because you've got it on Game Pass and you've got no reason to buy it if it's on Game Pass, yet you turn around at the same time, at the same junction, and complain about Xbox fans who have Game Pass, who play the games on Game Pass and don't buy them. Wait a minute. Is anyone else here seeing double standards, or is ChatGPT getting its wires crossed finally and exposing Nibs for what he is? So today we're looking at the financial earnings, the Q3, and of course Q4 is going to be, in my opinion, another uptake with a lot of games coming out, like the Doom, Towerborn just released, Call of Duty, and so forth. There's a lot of big games still down the line coming for that Q4 to prop this up even more. But as you can see, Microsoft's Q3 2025 fiscal earnings, Windows OEM devices revenue is up 3%. Now, Windows OEM, the devices that they're talking about is the Surface devices. They no longer report separate Surface revenue, I'm guessing because they're just so low, and they're basically now coupling them up with Windows OEM. It is 3% up year on year, which is actually pretty cool. It's fine, it's a growth. The gaming revenue has actually gone up by 5%, which is great. And Xbox content services revenue is up by 8%. Now, this also includes Game Pass, essentially, which is part of the whole, services, which is, 8% increase is an 8% increase. So there's clearly been a shift in the actual Game Pass numbers, and I'm predicting Game Pass now is somewhere in the region of about 45 million, getting closer and closer to that 50 million. Xbox hardware revenue once again was down, but we kind of expected this because Microsoft is really no longer pushing for the console. If they were, things would be different. But as you can see, they pretty much push everything but the console in this day and age because the console really is not their main priority anymore. I'm saddened by this. It does make me sad. We are getting another console, which is great. Console or PC, I think it's more of a PC. But we are getting more hardware, so that is good news for Xbox fans like myself. But, it's not the priority it used to be. And we can see that here when Satya Nadella on Xbox for Q3 2025, they ended the quarter as the top publisher by pre-orders and pre-installs on both Xbox and PlayStation Store. What this basically is telling you is that PlayStation fans are pre-ordering more Xbox games than they are PlayStation games. And of course, well, there are no PlayStation games to pre-order. Even the one that was supposed to land this May has decided to push itself out. For good reasons, mind you. It's not ready and it needs more time, so let it bake more in the oven and release when it's ready. But they just don't have the software, they don't have the lineup. And after cancelling, 9-10 games, these games take time to build. And clearly, as we saw, and a lot of PlayStation fans have been saying, and a lot of other people have been saying, these studios can't work on more than one game at a time. So with those cancellations of the live service games, well, the only games that they can play right now is Xbox games. Now, one has to wonder, every year, Xbox fans have been waiting for that year where it's the Xbox year. This is that year. And, well, they've decided to share the wealth. Can you imagine how the tables could have turned if all of these games were made exclusive, like Doom? It'd have been an interesting situation to truly see and behold, right? It would have been interesting to see how that would have affected console sales, Game Pass sales, and everything else. Really, really interesting. However, PC Game Pass revenue has increased 45% year on year. Now, this is actually a really big, staggering number, just like the 96% that PlayStation fanboys were showcasing about Expedition 33 in the UK boxed sales, right? A very, very sub-segment of the market with a sub-section of the consumer purchasing thing. And they were running rampant and joyful with that 96%, which meant absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things without any actual data to back it up. And the same thing applies here. Now, we know Game Pass, at least we know Game Pass on PC is around 10-15 million. Around 10 million, I'd say, at the base minimum. So a 45% increase is basically 4.5 million increase. So at least we have that historical data to back it up. So we're looking at PC Game Pass now basically somewhere in the region of about 15 million, with Game Pass being at around 30 million. That's 45 million on its own, folks. That is on its own. So my 45 to 50 million is pretty much on point. Cloud gaming new records, surpassing 150 million hours played for the first time this quarter. Cloud gaming is still in its infancy. It's really good and works really well if you have a good connection. And hopefully this will grow and become a more stable platform, and the actual requirements to actually stream will improve as technology improves. But right now there are people like me who still don't have like great internet, who are unable to stream, and this is obviously going to impact cloud gaming as a whole. There are, countries out there, developing countries, who still don't have a great internet infrastructure, who can't afford to buy the consoles, be it PlayStation or Xbox, where cloud gaming is an actual outlet for them to be able to play. But if their infrastructure just isn't capable of doing that, well, it's still not possible. So as the infrastructure expands, that number is going to expand exponentially. Of course, we have this as well. Xbox helped contribute to a 21% operating income increase in Microsoft's more personal computing segment. That's huge. That means 1/5 of the revenue came from Xbox department, which is massive considering where they were some time ago. And yet you're going to get the naysayers coming out and saying, oh, but that's because of ZeniMax and ABK. Who owns them? Who owns ZeniMax and ABK? Microsoft. Then shut the hell up. If BMW went and bought Volkswagen, and then they said, right, our revenue just exponentially increased by double, for example, hypothetically, well, BMW now have double the revenue. No one's going to sit there and nitpick which thing. Oh, this only happens with PlayStation fanboys because they are trying to damage control, because they are so butthurt that Microsoft might actually be doing something right and might actually be doing well. They want them to disappear so badly. Even the naysayers that say that they don't want them to disappear because of competition, and they're already seeing firsthand what Sony is doing to them by increasing PS Plus prices and removing services and removing value from the actual service, which is crazy, right? They're increasing the price and reduce. Do I need to say more? And they are still defending this action. But over 1/5 coming from Xbox, that is pretty damn sweet. That just shows you that whatever Microsoft is doing right now for the business is actually working. And here we have the Microsoft gaming revenue increased by 5% in Q3 fiscal year 2025, implying Xbox made around 5.723 billion in that period. That's a record-breaking result for a Q3. So this Q3 has been their best ever quarter yet. Of course, they have had big hitters like Avowed, South of Midnight, Landing, so it's no surprise. But the next quarter should be even bigger, and this could potentially be the best year yet in terms of revenue. That is insane. And just think, people are still saying that Xbox is dead. Maybe the brand might not hold as much significance as it used to, but in terms of the gaming division and what Xbox stands for, it is very much alive. I don't know, folks. This to me seems like a good thing. This seems to me that it's healthy, and it's also telling me that Game Pass is going to be here for the foreseeable future. We at least have another 5 to 10 years of Game Pass, maybe more. I'd say easy 10 at this point, especially with 2 years going into, well, at least another year or so going in for the Xbox Series generation, and then we're going to get the next generation console, which is probably going to last another 5 to 7 years. So that in itself is roughly about, give or take, 8 to 10 years. God knows what's going to happen to our planet by then, right? But for the foreseeable future, Game Pass is there offering great value as a consumer, and that is ultimately what I care about. These numbers just tell me that Microsoft is on the right trajectory, and as far as I am concerned, where I'm not a shareholder, I am not really caring about their profits as much as other people do for the sake of, I have no idea. At least Game Pass is in a good place, and these games are continually going to arrive day one on that platform. And with Game Pass being profitable, up by almost 8%, well, majority of that 8% is through Game Pass. That tells you everything you need to know. 8% increase is an 8% increase. They're getting closer and closer to that double-digit increase, and who knows? By the time we get to Q4, maybe they'll finally break that that double digit again. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that discussion. And if you've enjoyed the video, do hit that like button, subscribe, hit that bell to step today with all content I release. 65% of you who return watching this content are not subscribed. If you're enjoying the content, please do consider subscribing. It really helps the channel grow, and it will really help me hit my 10,000 sub goal by the end of the year. I appreciate you for watching. It's the cheapest and easiest way. It doesn't cost you anything to simply hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, drop a comment in the comment section below, hit that bell to start today with all content I release. And if you want to get in touch further, you can do that through my Discord, social media, all the links in the description below. You can support me further through my super thanks, and of course, if you want to support me further, you can become a YouTube member where you get content like this earlier than anyone else. Well folks, that's pretty much the video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Remain legend.